Years ago, about 30, somebody had a bad idea. There's a friend of mine in college. And I may have hinted at this before, but I was 20 years old, and he had an idea of jumping out of an airplane. And I agreed. I was stupid at 20. You know how that can happen. And $40 is all it cost. So we went down to the Stillwater Airport, and I listened all day as he was talking about how to jump out of a plane and how to position yourself where your parachute was facing up, so it wouldn't, be on the bottom side of you when it was unleashed, and how to land. We jump off ladders and things like that. And it was too windy that day, so we had to wait and come the next day, which we'd have to share the airport with some experienced jumpers. But I remember in that rickety old plane, he walked out to the takeoff strip, and is that the plane we're getting in? I didn't want to get in that plane. It was the rickiest thing you ever saw. We went up in it, and you knew it probably wouldn't survive the landing, so it's probably a good idea to jump out of that plane. But we got in by weight, and so I was in the middle with two of my college friends. And I can still remember when they opened that door, and it was one of these planes where we were just sitting on our haunches, and we had to kind of just work our way to the door. And the way you had to get out of this plane was you had to step on the wheel and hold the backside of the wing and wait till they said let go. And I can remember my friend Chuck got out on that wing, and I was just watching him. They told him to let go, and he let go, and my thought was, Chuck is dead. He is dead. There's no hope for what he just did. But then as I was thinking about that, I heard my name. I heard Guy, or who else wants to die, or something like that. And so I moved over. I stepped out on that wing, 1 foot on the wheel, holding on that wing with all this wind in my face and my goggles, and thinking, I'm out of options here. I think I get back in that plane, which would be embarrassing and probably wouldn't make it anywhere. I'm going to have to let go when he says let go. And I remember when he said let go, I let go. And I started getting in position, my body in the right position so my chute would be facing up. And before I knew it, I was floating. It had pulled me up, and I don't even remember the jerk or anything like that. But I was floating, and that moment in life is one of the most memorable moments that I ever went through, because I was floating in the air, and all I could hear was the distancing engine of the plane. And when it got totally out of ear sound, it was absolute silence. Other than this flapping fabric that was above me, it was just absolute silence. And it was the most physically peaceful moment of my life. Just hanging, and I got totally absorbed in that. And it wasn't until I started hearing this distant yelling from the ground about how to, landing instructions, that it finally woke me up, and I realized what I was, I just got so caught up in that. And that afternoon, we had those experienced guys that were standing over there watching us, waiting for us to get done. I often talk about that when I do talk about it, that I fell on my face from 3,500 feet, because that's what happened that day. And when I hit the ground, I kind of misjudged my legs, and the wind caught my chute, and my head hit first on my face. And they had just burned the field the day before. It had caught fire. I don't think they planned on burning because it's too windy. And I came up, grabbed my chute, and I was sitting there with a blackened face, goggles twisted, chute in my hand, and a smile. I was hoping I had all my teeth, and I had to walk by all those experienced guys just kind of watching me walk by. But as embarrassing as that was, I look back and I don't even think about that. I think about that experience that happened. And it all started with this great step of faith. And that's what the Christian life is. It's taking a step of faith, a step of trust, taking a risk, and experiencing something you've never experienced before. I took that step as a young person about that same time in life in my Christian spiritual life. And I experienced a peace that I had never known at that time that has been in my life since. And that flapping fabric was the only thing that was holding me. It was my anchor as I was floating down that day. And it wasn't an expensive one at all. I'm surprised it even, held at all, because it was a terrible looking thing, but it brought me down. But it's nothing in comparison to Jesus Christ. It's saying here that He is our anchor. He is going to hold us. We will be unmoved. and that you will have the greatest possible experience that life can bring to you. But you've got to take the steps. And part of that is a desire to experience more than where you are. Leaving the elementary and pressing on to a maturity, to being all that God wants you to be in life. And that is pictured in the person of Jesus Christ.